Welcome back to Crucial Conversations. I'm KD, and I'm here with my co-host, Motor Mouth.
Hey, how y'all doing out there?
We're coming back, wrapping up the end of the segment, talking about these giant invasion of the giant shrimp,
Yeah. You better watch out, because they're going to be on some restaurant plates, poison or not.
And that's what I was thinking. They talking about call them and to report the location. They know we're in a recession. You already know what's going to happen. These big things start floating up, Motor Mouth. Mm-hmm. Folks gonna show with some Old Bay seasoning and some butter and call it a day. They're gonna
have the grill ready. They're gonna grill those suckers.
Anyway, that's what I think. Yeah, that would solve a lot of problems if they could make sure that they are disease free. Mm-hmm. But anyway,
yeah, moving right along. Tell me,
that was interesting.
I got something to ask you.
Okay,
Obama.
Okay,
and with this gay marriage thing, what you think about this here? I got my opinions, but I want to hear your opinions.
You want
first.
My opinion on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. Because I know that North Carolina passed a law against gay marriage.
Yeah.
And Obama finally took a stance after going back and forth. It's almost like he wanted to say what he really felt all along, but he didn't really want to throw it out there. And I think, probably because it's an election year, you don't want to piss off your voters, but.
Well, that's what I think. I don't know if he really believed, that, because, first of all, I'm with North Carolina law against gay marriages, and I have many reasons for that. And just the basic fundamental of what the country was founded on, and how it was set up. And it just seemed for some odd reason that over the years, the whole institution or the Constitution and the way the country have been set up, those morals and everything have constantly been weakening, getting weaker and weaker and weaker until the actual platform that the country was based upon is not there no more. It's not solid. And I just think, so much is just going on. I don't have nothing against what a person want to do or anything, but there's just certain core values that this country was founded on, and I think it needs to stay that way, or we're going to be in chaos a lot more than what we are already.
At the moment.
Right, at the moment, yeah. Because it's, and it just, it's just funny how I don't think that's something that even the government need to get into, But but I think a person have a right to do whatever they want to do, different things. Now, I do believe, if marriage should be between a man and a wife because they can procreate, reproduce, in other words.
Yeah, but you don't have to.
And that was the main reason of marriage in the first place. But again, with the Constitution,
about that, Motor Mouth?
Marriage was the ideal for you to have bastard children running around and different things like that. That's the reason why they said, about the marriage, because
and from
time.
what I recall back in history,
yeah,
marriage was really founded. I don't want to say it's in a financial arrangement, but it was about bounty and property, because at the time it was about. And I'm thinking way back.
Yeah, I remember
at the time, a woman was even considered the property of her husband
or her father. Yeah,
no,
until her father gave her away.
Exactly,
okay, right,
exactly,
right,
exactly. I'm not talking about during her upbringing. I'm talking about as she was a mature woman and got married, which people got married at a much earlier age then. But a woman was considered the property of her husband, and the children were considered the property of the husband. And marriage was about more of a financial
well, that's one point of view.
Situation.
Because if that woman wasn't a virgin, she found wasn't a virgin, she was executed.
Now, what time period in history are you talking about?
I'm talking about when the father used to prize that, even to the point where they used to. Different culture had different rules and regulations, about a woman back then.
Well, I may not be way back in the day on the level that you are.
Where some even had it already planned on who they was going to marry, who was going from the boy and the girl in the family, where the family already put
arranged
together,
marriages,
right?
true.
But the bottom line of it, again, it was presented to me, it was the idea of a relationship between a man and a woman.
It was about property.
Right.
It wasn't
even if it was property, it still was between a man and a woman. Okay, it wasn't two men marrying each other or two females marrying each other for property purposes or whatever you want to say. That it wasn't there. And then if a child was married out was born out of wedlock, as I said, they consider that as a bastard child or something like that, you know. So, you know, the term, again, I think back in the old school, that was in that nature, because if I understand biblically correctly, if you was caught doing something like that in the church, you could get expelled from the church for life.
Yeah.
Right, because they didn't play that, you know, mixing the man, a man, a woman, a woman.
But speaking of mixing motor mouth, I think this is what kind of bugs me about all of it. When it comes to marriage, I'm thinking about not too long ago, and I'm not talking about in the 1800s when we'll walk around in caves and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about, I can't remember the years, but once upon a time, not that long ago, might have been around the 40s or the 30s or the 20s, I can't recall, but do you recall a man was not allowed to marry another person of color? You know, a white person, Caucasian, couldn't marry a person of color, couldn't marry a black person. It was a crime. And I guess that's kind of what bugs me about all of it. Government telling someone who you can or cannot do and basing it all under the name of religion kind of bugs me.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know if it's really with government like that or just some crazy people who came up with that that notion from out of the point of slavery. You know,
well, I was going to get into that also.
To that point.
Because slavery was even justified based on the biblical interpretation also.
Right, you know, but again, just looking at how, in the slavery point of view of the slave master and the different things, even if you educated, you know, taught, you know, the certain race how to read or write and everything, you know, it was against. You know,
they were against all. It was against all of that,
right? But you know, but then again, you know, like when we start looking at certain terms and rules and regulations about slavery, I mean, it have to go back to a lot deeper than I think just the American soil, because a lot of time when people think of slavery and different things, they just think of the American soil and they just make it be a white black thing.
Yeah,
and that's not true about slavery. You know, so that's a whole nother story, a whole nother topic for another day. But
show.
You know, talking about what Obama is doing.
Exactly.
You know, I just feel, you know, that, you know, he needs to reserve the morals of the country and the ethics of the country, you know, to keep it whole, because there's just so much this man is doing that is just, you know, I just can't believe it's going on, you know, I mean, because there's a lot more going on than just that, you know.
Well, I think
they have some hidden meaning between it, because if Biden going to come out and say something a week or 2 weeks beforehand, then he going to come back and co-sign it. Believe me, there's something going on that we're not looking at.
Well, I think the problem that I have it with this, I'm looking at how it's going to affect the election long term. It's going to be an interesting election year, because you have to. It's almost like there's no gray area going on here. You know what I mean? You're going to be extremely left or extremely right, very conservative or very liberal. And I kind of like a little gray sometimes. There's no gray going on. And speaking of Romney, he's already come out and said, in no uncertain terms, on any capacity in his lifetime, he would never change his mind on it. It's the way he put it. He is totally against gay marriage, period.
Oh, yeah. He mentioned when he was governor, he was against it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting, because it's going to be an interesting election year for sure. And I think that Obama might have, I don't want to say he did it for political reasons. I don't want to say that. But, you know, politics always has a reason for something occurring. There's always a reason.
But, you know, I mean, but again, you know, as I say, you know, I don't know if it was an order, you know, you know, given to do, because just like you said, you know, there's no gray areas. Either you're this way or you're that way.
You're either conservative or you're liberal in this election.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
Right, you know, about your belief system and different things. So I guess that's the reason why, I guess, you know, like in Texas, that billboard with, you know, the new blacks. You know?
And that's the GOP, the Republican Party, that put that out.
Yeah,
the new GOP. And then they had, it was black women.
All right.
That's what they want to look at as the new GOP. I went, okay, well, that's interesting. But
they had a couple black men in there, too, you know, but I remember seeing the sisters with their weaves. I didn't see no natural-looking sister in there. you know.
And
but
what does the hairdo have to do with anything?
It have a lot to do with it, you know. Because just I tell you just like this here. Bottom line, it have to deal with identity. Okay? When you can't be proud of yourself and who you are for yourself and have to go out there and do all this artificial thing, sometimes when you get into that mirror, you forget the real person that's there. You know, you might see the eyes, but everything else, you know, it's gone.
Well, you know what? I don't think it's up to me to judge how any other woman wears her hair.
Well, that might be true.
So,
with
you know,
well, they ain't wearing their hair. That's it.
You don't know that.
A weave ain't your hair.
Just
okay.
That's
not your hair.
They brought it. It's there. They brought it.
Well, you know, I'm talking about the natural born stuff that they was born with. You know.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
I mean, you know, but just not that. I mean, but you got so many people going around that they so artificial, and I'm not just talking about my sisters.
Well, please,
you know, I'm talking about just period.
Some options
of being artificial. But I wonder this here, you know, bringing on of all this artificial is all this artificialness is the reason why the children going astray. Because if mom ain't being for real, and dad already then bad mouth out there, I mean, the kids don't have nothing to look forward to, you know, especially our children.
Oh, we kind of stereotype just a little
I know,
bit
I'm just talking about just period of our values, our values, you know. I can remember, you know, I ain't going to get that way, but right now, but, you know, I do on another show and another time. But there's a lot of things that are going on that we need to look at and ask and question, especially when we know how our grandmothers and their grandmother and their grandmothers were. Not talking about the mamas in between, but, you know, to this point in day and time that our family structure are weak.
Well, I'm not disagreeing.
And how did they come about getting weak? That's the thing, you know, so we have to look at this commercialism, just like what we were talking about, real TV shows, or certain things around and certain things to be. Now, as I say, okay, is this, you know, thing with Obama saying now, you know, going on, I mean, exactly what is that going to cause to a young child mind? You know, I could go out and just have sex with another man. I could go out and have sex with another female. I'm going to be all right. And then we know what that caused. I mean,
so what are you trying to suggest?
Let me ask you this question here on the health tip. Is it proven? Is it a fact that having sex with the opposite? I mean, with the same sex causes HIV?
Ask me that one more time.
Is it? You remember they said HIV, AIDS. Was coming
from. Who is they, first of all? They.
The medical field.
Okay,
the medical field. Okay. You know, those in the white jackets. With the
I know the medical field
right. You know, that say this is what caused health issues. Okay. Now, isn't that what they said the AIDS came from?
Now, I don't recall that at all. I recall, you know, them insinuating that AIDS actually came from Africa. And I do recall that it was spread strong when it got to the United States through the great gay community, but they specifically said that AIDS came from Africa. Whoever they were, that's what I recall.
Okay, as you said,
that's what I recall happening.
So it came across to the other community. But I'm just saying, you know, that if that's the case, you know, I'm just saying, you know.
And if I recall even further, I don't even think that it actually originated, so they say, from humans.
No, it came from a monkey.
Exactly.
You know,
that's what I remember them saying.
But again, you know, I don't know. It was just saying medical field, you know, how the health industry or however it came across, you know. And then, you know, like I know when I study, you know, the little bit that I studied on HIV, AIDS and everything, back in when they were saying from Africa, they was trying to relate it to the SAGE disease. That's where you had all your young black queens and kings and everything dying as a young age.
Sage disease?
Yeah, it was called sage back in the days.
I know sage is a plant and an essential oil, but I'd never heard of sage disease.
No, it was a disease called sage, you know, back then. That they was dying from and everything.
Okay.
Yeah, well. You know, there have been different type of plagues that have been across this earth many, many times. And they come around, and when they come back around in their cycles, they give them new names.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. But I just don't think that just because somebody hears the president, and I could be wrong, I don't think that a child's going to hear the president. It's almost like you're trying to suggest that someone's going to hear him take a stance for gay marriage and all of a sudden decide that they just want to have a relationship with somebody of the same sex. And I don't think it really works that way.
Well, it seemed like they're trying to make it be an all right thing.
We're talking about marriage.
Okay, right, but that's what the marriage is about now. It's changing it from a man and a female to wherever you want to be. You know, that's the thing. When you just look at the as you say, I like to say the bottom line.
Yeah, I think somebody's going to be whoever they're going to be anyway.
And before you can get into that marriage, you got to have a relationship. Okay, so point A leads to point B to point C.
Reasons, Motor Mouth.
I mean, regardless of what they get married for, it's a relationship.
Sometimes
all of it is a relationship, regardless how you classify it. It's a relationship. It could be a relationship for money. It could be a relationship for a green card. It could be a relationship because of sex. It could be a relationship because of anything.
All right, Motor Mouth, I hear you on that. It's interesting, but I have to give President Obama this much credit. He's a bold man to even step up and make a firm stance one way or the other. I got to give him respect for even doing that. At least you have a better understanding of where he's coming from in his belief system anyway. So that was interesting to me, and speaking of AIDS and HIV and what's going on, there was something else that occurred this week that really got my attention. I went, wow.
Yeah, that's what I'll get to next.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, tell me, how did the black woman become up 60%?
Wow. First of all, they took this research, okay, and they said, based on their research, African-American women, mainly living in Atlanta, are being infected with HIV, so much that the new cases are being compared to African countries. And I went, what?
Mm-hmm.
They collected data from, this was the health department in 2009. They collected all this data from Clayton, Fulton, DeKalb, Cobb, Douglas, Gwinnett County, and said that they indicated it was an infection rate of HIV and AIDS, and they broke it down. And here, I'm going to skim over it a little bit. Fulton County has about 5,000. HIV is about 5,000. AIDS is about 8,000. That's a lot. DeKalb County is about 4,000, and AIDS is about 4,000. Clayton County is about 850. I'm rounding up the numbers.
So where does stuff come from?
It's just
how are they getting infected?
Cobb and Douglas is around 1,000 in each category. Gwinnett is about 890 and around 1,000 in each category. Now, according to the study, it came from the Center for Disease Control, the CDC.
But how are they being affected? Where are they going to get in contact with the disease?
I have we know where they're getting in contact with the disease based on the study. But backing up a little bit, it's interesting, like you said, it's 60%. That's a lot.
Yeah, but again, though, from the study, I didn't get a chance to read the study. So how the study saying that the lady's getting affected?
By being engaged in risky behaviors.
Okay. That go back to what I was saying earlier.
Not necessarily.
Okay. Risky behavior. What type of risky behavior?
Risky behavior doesn't necessarily mean sex with the same partner, if that's what you're trying to insinuate.
No, but
you risky I'm trying to answer the question, Motor Mouth. You can have risky behavior by having sex without using protection. That's what risky behavior is.
Okay, without protection. Exactly. Before there was ever a thing about protection. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, where do the virus generate from or migrate from?
I'm not trying to put on my medical hat today, Motor Mouth. All I'm trying to do is make folks aware of the fact that HIV, AIDS, is spreading in the African American community among women. And for me, I don't like it. That's not good. My sisters need to do better and be better. We can and we should, okay? It's very simple. Get protection. I don't do it. It's just that simple.
But then again, too, that don't even have to be true just because CDC didn't came out with it.
I didn't say
but look at everything else.
But
look at everything else, how they have targeted the black community. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, for example, it was a thing about, it's not AIDS, but muscular dystrophy. Let's look at that for example.
MS?
Yeah, MS. Do you know why they fired Jerry Lewis from being the spokesperson?
No, I don't.
Because
I'm sure you're gonna tell me though.
They kept saying that it was a genetic that caused it.
MS?
Yeah, MS. Okay. Now there was this black scientist. Okay, if I'm correct, he was black. Mm-hmm. And he was studying it, and he was over at Emory University.
Isn't MS a neurological
disease?
Okay,
well, let me tell you what they said. But he proven to the fact, and he won some kind of award for it in 2011 or so, in 2010, that it was a deficiency in the immune system that could be corrected.
That could be corrected?
Here, you heard me. So, therefore, they decided that Jerry Lewis and his children, Jerry Lewis, should be the one to release it. The information.
What are you basing all this on?
Okay, wait. I'm going to tell you. You know, they decided that that he should be the one to announce this discovery and about the cure. And when he presented to the association, MS, they fired him.
Now,
That's the reason why they fired him.
If I'm wrong, God forgive me. Didn't Jerry Lewis pass? Didn't he pass?
He might have, but I'm just trying to say the reason why
I'm just
they fired him
and the only
because they didn't want that information out.
Okay, but based on what you just said, and I'm the type of person I always think a little bizarre, I guess, but okay, if someone came to me and he had a cure for MS, and I'm sitting here with MS, okay, regardless of why you really came into my space, regardless of what you really wanted from me, spokesperson or not, there's no way. If you really have a cure, then I'm not going to still be sitting here on this planet looking. But I thought Jerry Lewis actually died.
But this was before he died, though. But they fired him before he died.
I'm not even looking at the fire. I'm looking at the fact.
No. I'm talking about, I'm just talking about the reason why he was no longer their spokesperson.
Okay, I got you on that.
Okay, and everything. Right. And how the medical world to push all this stuff underneath the table.
So you're trying to say the medical world has pushed something underneath the table?
Oh, you got to think about
HIV.
how much. No, not HIV, but I'm just trying to say in such a way that you can't always be counting on those that wear the white jackets.
I didn't say I could.
I didn't say you did.
Okay.
I'm not talking to you personally.
Okay.
Okay. I'm just saying that we should not always conclude of what they're finding or what they release to us is what it is. And I just find that to be the same thing about the HIV, because just like how back some years ago when CDC got busted for pregnating black women in Atlanta and in L.A. with a disease, try to do a study.
See, I'm not familiar with that.
Okay, they got busted.
So are you trying to suggest, are you saying that the CDC is
I ain't
incorrect?
saying nothing. I'm just saying you got to be careful about what they say.
Can I ask the question?
Go ahead.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
Mow them out.
Go ahead.
Are you trying to say that you do not believe that the increase in HIV and AIDS in African American women is true? Is that what you're trying to say?
I
don't know what you're trying to say anymore. Clarify it for me.
All I'm just trying to say, you don't know how someone would do a study and how that is happening again, my thing is, as I say, it don't necessarily mean risky behavior. You're not when they're trying to get numbers and trying to figure out something. I'm just saying, I always question anything that come out by CDC ever since they've been busted with this one experiment that they was trying to do.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm not familiar with that experiment.
Okay, with that experiment, And as far as we know, all of a sudden, within 15 years, the numbers done flipped. And I can remember at one time, it was the black male that was leading the thing. Now it's the female.
Well, I remember when AIDS and HIV first came out, it was the gay community that was the leader, according to them. So, I don't know. But, believe it if you want to. If you don't, that's fine. But all I'm saying is they have a study out.
They got the numbers high.
And what's interesting about it is they're saying 60% of all new HIV cases have been diagnosed in black women, my sisters. Okay? And it's 15 times higher than white women as far as percentage-wise, and 4% higher than Hispanic women. Now, what's interesting is they're saying this, the problem that I look at, they're saying that their own studies show that black women are no more likely than women of any other race to engage in risky behavior. Okay, so what's the problem? And when they're trying to get to the bottom of what the problem is, they went and interviewed this lady in Cartersville, Georgia. She's 55 years old, and that's something else that's different. Most of the HIV cases, according to the CDC, whether you believe it or not, Motormouth, are saying they're not in the, the younger age group with black women. It's in the age group, the 40s and the 50s, as far as black women. For some reason, I'm believing this, Motormouth. You may not, but I believe it.
Yeah, no problem.
But anyway, they interviewed this lady in Cartersville, Georgia, 55-year-old lady that was in a relationship with a fellow from 2002 on up to recently. She walked around and didn't even know that she had AIDS until there was something like a fair, I guess it would be a health fair that came to Cartersville, where she lives at, in 2006. And they were giving out the opportunity to get free HIV tests. And she's got type personality. She's joking around, teasing, I don't need it. And she took it. And sure enough, it came back positive. Now, this lady was so shocked about the test results until she actually went and took a couple more tests just to make sure that everything was as it is. And sure enough, she's HIV positive. And she says she's upset about it. She's not releasing the man's name. But she's concerned about the fact that she thinks that he might have infected several other women. It goes back to that risky behavior again, right?
There you go.
Because there's only one way that you can infect several other women, as if you sleeping around.
Okay, now, but again, if he's sleeping around, I mean,
but this is this lady's testimony.
Okay, right. But
I
remember, like before, it was the claps or herpes or syphilis or gonorrhea or something, with the person. So all of a sudden, all of these diseases is just got pushed aside, and now HIV/AIDS is up on it. It's just strange,
It is strange, and you can't mention, what's the reasons according to the CDC.
It's just like those giant shrimp, the tiger shrimps. Hey, it's just a change.
I don't know. I'm still thinking about them shrimp. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd be bold enough to eat one, but they do look interesting. That's a whole bunch of shrimp.
But this whole thing about health is something that got to be brought to more
to the forefront,
and consciousness really got to go on.
Yeah,
On
a serious note, though, that shrimp is so abnormal. I would really be afraid to eat that thing. I mean, there's got to be something wrong with that big shrimp. 13 inch long, quarter-pound shrimp. That's just bizarre. But back on the HIV/AIDS epidemic, the CDC, their reason, according to them, the reasons could be attributed to social, economical, or environmental factors. They're saying, well, I don't know if I believe this, but they're saying research also shows that financial dependence may limit the black woman's negotiation power with their male partners when it comes to having safe sex. I don't know about that now. Financial dependence. Like, if I'm that financially dependent on somebody and they behind can't go get some protection, it just ain't going to happen. So, whatever. But that's the CDC's version, Okay. That's the CDC.
Well, we got to take a break right now and again pay the dues for the show. And we'll be back. Hey, I'm Motormouth.
And I'm KD.